Direct News TV. August 20, 2023. Russia-Ukraine Live, Zelenskyy hails historic Dutch, Danish F-16 deal. The Dutch and Danish governments have confirmed that they will transfer an unspecified number of F-16s to Ukraine once Kyiv has met certain conditions. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has met with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte in Eindhoven as he looks to secure F-16 fighter jets from the Netherlands. Zelenskyy in Denmark to talk F-16s, start of Ukrainian pilot training. Zelenskyy's visit to Denmark will see him talk with Danish leaders about the F-16s and the start of Ukrainian pilot training, the Danish Premier's office has said. Denmark fully supports Ukraine and is ready to do so for as long as necessary, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said in a statement ahead of Zelenskyy's arrival at a joint news conference later Sunday. The Danish Defence Minister Jacob Ellemann-Jensen, in a statement, voiced pride that his country and the Netherlands were donating the fighter planes to the fight for Ukraine's freedom against Russia and its senseless aggression. Denmark's support for Ukraine is unwavering, and with the donation of F-16 planes, Denmark is showing the way forward, Ellemann-Jensen added. Zelenskyy lands at Air Force Base in Denmark. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has landed at an Air Force base in southern Denmark, 2 days after Washington approved the transfer of US-made F-16 fighter jets by Denmark and the Netherlands to Kyiv. After an earlier visit in the day to the Netherlands, where Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte approved the delivery of the jets, Zelenskyy arrived at Skrydstrup at around 4:30 p.m., 14:30 GMT, AFP reported. He was greeted by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen and Defence Minister Jacob Ellemann-Jensen. Zelenskyy to visit Denmark on Sunday, Danish PM office. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will visit Denmark on Sunday, the Danish Prime Minister's office said. The statement came the same day a decision was announced to supply F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. F-16 jets will help Ukraine counteroffensive, Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy has said the F-16 planes would help strengthen Ukraine's air defenses and help its counteroffensive. Aircraft can speed up this process, he said on Sunday. We are speaking about air defense, because we have the winter ahead of us and we understand more than anyone else in the world what winter without electricity is like. Exact number of F-16 jets Ukraine to receive still unclear. The number of F-16 jets Ukraine would be receiving from the Netherlands and Denmark remains unclear, as Zelenskyy said Kyiv would get 42 jets, but the two Scandinavian countries, in a joint statement announcing the deliveries, did not specify numbers. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said the Netherlands has 42 of the jets, but said some will be needed for training purposes. When they will take to the skies over Zelenskyy's nation also remained unclear, but Rutte said he hopes it will be soon. The F-16s will not help immediately now with the war effort. It is anyway a long-term commitment from the Netherlands, the Dutch leader said. We want them to be active and operational as soon as possible. Not for the next month, that's impossible, but hopefully soon afterward. Russia remains China's largest crude supplier. Russia remained China's largest crude supplier in July, Chinese government data has shown, even as Russian shipments fall from all-time highs on narrower discounts and rising domestic demand crimps Russian exports. Arrivals from Russia were up 13% from the same month last year to 8.06 million metric tons in July, or 1.9 million barrels per day, BPD, according to data from the General Administration of Customs released on Sunday. For the first 7 months of the year, Russian arrivals were up 25% from a year earlier to 60.66 million tons. Despite continuing Western sanctions and a price cap on Russian shipments, Russian ESPO-grade crude has increasingly traded closer to benchmark grades, as strong demand from Indian and Chinese buyers erodes the sanctions discount. Chinese refiners use intermediary traders to handle shipping and insurance of Russian crude to avoid violating Western sanctions. F-16 training has begun, but more time needed to train engineers, mechanics, Ukraine minister. Ukraine's defense minister Oleksiy Reznikov has said training had begun for Ukrainians to operate F-16s, but added it would take at least 6 months and possibly longer to also train engineers and mechanics. Training will take place in Denmark and Romania, officials from a coalition of 11 nations have said. Ukraine, which expects several dozens of pilots to be trained, said last week it did not expect to be able to use F-16s this autumn or winter. Zelenskyy hails historic decision to hand F-16 planes to Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy hailed the decision by the Netherlands to hand over F-16 planes to Kyiv to help it battle the Russian invasion as historic. The third point for today is absolutely historic, powerful and inspiring for us, Zelenskyy said at a press conference with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte at an air base in Eindhoven. This is another step toward strengthening Ukraine's air shield. Denmark confirms transfer of F-16s to Ukraine. The Danish Foreign Ministry has confirmed that the transfer of F-16s to Ukraine will occur when conditions have been met. The conditions include successfully selecting, testing and training Ukrainian personnel. The Dutch and Danish governments are also involved in a coalition that is working to train Ukrainian pilots to fly the advanced fighter jets. Danish Defense Minister Jacob Ellemann-Jensen said Friday that the training of Ukrainian pilots is starting this month. Officials have previously said that Ukrainian pilots will need 6 to 8 months of training. 4 regions in Russia attacked with Ukrainian drones, Moscow. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims that Ukraine attacked 4 separate regions with drones. Russia's Kursk, Rostov and Belgorod regions, all of which border Ukraine, reported attempted drone strikes, while Russia's defense ministry said it had jammed a Ukrainian drone in the Moscow region, forcing it to crash in an unpopulated area. In response, Russia's aviation watchdog said it had briefly halted flights to the city's Vnukovo and Domodedovo airports. The Kursk region's governor said 5 people had been injured and a fire had broken out when a drone hit Kursk city's railway station. Rostov's governor said no injuries or damage had occurred. Netherlands, Denmark to supply F-16s to Ukraine, Dutch PM. The Netherlands and Denmark will deliver an unspecified number of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine once conditions for the transfer have been met, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has announced. The pledge is the first real promise of F-16s for Ukraine's armed forces. Rutte said it was still uncertain how many would be delivered to Ukraine and that they had 42 in stock. Zelenskyy inspects F-16s in the Netherlands. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has inspected F-16 fighter jets which he hopes to receive from the Netherlands, during his surprise visit to a Dutch army base. Zelenskyy's visit, with outgoing Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, came 2 days after the U.S. agreed that the Netherlands and Denmark could supply the U.S.-made warplanes to Kyiv. Ukrainian drones shot down over Belgorod region, Moscow. The Russian Defense Ministry has said that anti-aircraft defenses prevented an attack by 2 drones on the Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine and is a regular target of Ukrainian drone attacks. In a separate statement, Belgorod Region Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said 12 airborne targets had been shot down on approach to Belgorod city. Germany to provide Ukraine with $5.4 billion in aid per year. Germany expects to provide Ukraine with about €5 billion, $5.44 billion, in financial aid per year, Finance Minister Christian Lindner says. Berlin has been one of the largest benefactors of Ukraine following the start of the conflict with Russia and has said it will continue to offer support as long as necessary. In May, Germany announced €2.7 billion, $2.94 billion, in military aid to Ukraine in a package that included tanks and drones. Germany was initially reluctant to provide heavy arms to Ukraine after Russia launched a full-scale invasion of the country in February 2022, fearing it might escalate the war. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.